Well, welcome, John. It's great to have you with us. Thank you for your time. We just want to ask you a few questions, get to know you a little bit. So perhaps you could start just by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be with us at Redbourne Methodist Church.
Yeah, I'm a professional musician, born in the north of England, but came down to London. I've had a link with the Methodist Church since then. Well, actually, before then, because I used to play music with musicians who were in a Methodist church up north. But I came to live at a place called Chester House, which is basically a young people's Methodist hostel in North London, in Muswell Hill, and went to the local Methodist church. I met my wife there. She was a Methodist. So that led me down that route. And when we moved to Watford and then to Hemel, we looked for local Methodist churches. Then my Methodist church, which was Cupid Green, closed down in Hemel Hempstead. And we were looking for a new church, and I'll keep this short now because I could tell you a lot about why we ended up going to Redbourne Church. But we discovered Redbourne Methodist Church, started going there many years ago, and have continued. And being a professional musician, it wasn't long before somebody discovered, and there I was playing on Sunday morning and doing various other things. And as it is at the moment, I am the main. There are a couple of other pianists in the church, but I'm the main musician at the church, and obviously now providing music for online services as well.
That's really interesting. Thank you. That's great. I mean, I think we might have to have another conversation another day about the role of music in Methodism. You know, it's a movement born in song, as they say, which I'm sure is something you're very well aware of. But I wonder, for now, we do hear a lot on the news about how the restrictions are affecting people in the music business and in theatre and the arts generally. Perhaps you could just say a little bit about to help us understand and get to know you and help you in our prayers, etc. How has it affected you as a musician going through the restrictions personally?
Um, it's been bittersweet. The bitter side was that I literally got a few days' notice last March. I'm the resident pianist at the Langham, London, which is a hotel opposite the BBC at the top of Regent Street. Fantastic hotel, and I provide the music there 7 days a week. So I would go in 4 or 5 afternoons, maybe. If they wanted jazz, I would have a jazz trio or jazz duo in the evening as well. That just all came to an end. And within the week, all my private bookings, because I do a lot of private parties, especially in North London, um, one by one they all phoned up and cancelled. Some rescheduled. Some are having to reschedule again, and some got so low about it that they don't really want to have a party anymore. So as I said, it all came to an end. So from March, middle of March 2020 to now, I've literally had 6 weeks playing, professional playing, because I went back to the Langham in October. Then we were in lockdown in November. Went back in December. I was booked for every day of December, and of course that's stopped in the middle of December. So that's been that. So that's the bitter side of it. Um, the sweet side of it is that um, I'm very blessed that we are okay as a family, and also um, it opened up lots of creative opportunities for me. I already have a record label, and since March 2020, I've been able to release 3 EPs of all original material on my record. But you can get them on Spotify, Apple Music, etc., etc. I just wouldn't have had the time and the energy to do that, and it was something that I put on the back burner. I've also done some live stream performances. I did there's a Kai Cancer Care Centre, which I used to go and do little performances for, to raise spirits and what have you. And so they started doing live stream and interviews with people like I don't know, Matt Lucas, Don Black, Esther Ranson, and me. And so that was good. And a couple of live stream shows with Lee John of Imagination, who's the artist and man that I work with. So we did some kind of acoustic. In fact, there's one which is again going to be, might as well plug, is again going to be shown on the internet on 29th of January, in a few days' time. So that was good. So people were still seeing me. And then, of course, I designed the website for Redbourne Methodist Church back in 2007. Really needed updating. So again, with the new skills that I'd gained from updating my personal website, I was able to do a new website for the church. It all takes time. And I wouldn't have had the time otherwise. And I'm quite pleased with the results. That has led, because we keep going back into lockdown and can't have live services, we've done more online services, church services, which meant I thought, well, people really love singing. And as you mentioned, Stuart, it's such an important part of the Methodist Church. And we can't sing together. So why don't I do some lyrics videos of me singing? I'm doing my arrangements of famous hymns so that people can sit at home and they can sing along, or just at least read the words and enjoy the music. So there's lots of things that have been good for me that come out of him, but I'm very humbly aware that lockdown had been so different for different people. And I'm just glad that I've had the privilege of being able to do all these different things.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And we're so grateful that you can share your gifts and talents with us here at Redbourne, and sharing the wider audience that you have. And I think it's also where you very sort of gently elided over the disappointments around things being cancelled. And I think it's worth mentioning that not everybody realizes that the huge amount of preparation and work that would go into preparing for those shows that had to go. So it is good, isn't it, that you've had those other projects that you have had the time to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be positive in this interview, but if you want to make other people aware, for example, I used to just go over to Austria, go over to France and do gigs. And the British government, UK government and the EU are blaming each other that an agreement hasn't been reached to let musicians do that in the future. And, obviously we can't perform live. Apparently even busking is illegal at the moment. So from a point of view of somebody who made their living from performing live mainly, it is very, very difficult.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. I hope we'll all remember that as we see it coming up on our news screens, and you've given us an insight into what that's like personally. Thank you, John. I mean, last of all, just maybe you'd just like to say a brief word about, you're obviously being very positive about the situation, and you've got the thoughts about what has come out of it that is good. Just really generally for folks, how has your faith helped you through those difficult transitions? I mean, has it helped you, or has it been something else? But if you could just say a few words about how your faith has buoyed you up, perhaps, or given you a different perspective in the restrictions.
I must say that I was quite ill at the end of March. Middle of March, lost all the work, and then I was quite ill at the end of March. I'm still not sure if it was the dreaded thing or whether it was just me getting run down. And when I came out of that, and I thought, well, I felt an inner peace. And even some non-Christians have mentioned this to me. I'm not chasing my tail. I'm to get dressed and to commute down to London and then negotiate with management and deal with musicians, and there was a lot of pressure off me. And that led to me doing my first lockdown EP, which we call Reflections, which was basically a meditative relaxation CD. So the inspiration came from that. And although I didn't actually advertise that as a Christian EP, obviously it was very much respected by my spiritual self. And that's led on to, to the other EPs as well. And I think uh, my Christianity has helped me deal with the negative side of things. And basically, the important thing I always remember every morning is that my life is in His hands, right? And that, you can fight and fight. And obviously, you want to be proactive doing things. But at the end of the day, your life is in His hands. It's His power, it's His grace that gets you through. So I suppose in a reciprocal way, that's what has made me want to do more and more for the church, especially when I have the time and the skills that I've built up over these years that I can channel into that. I think that's the best way I can answer your question. And of course, the plus is like, my dog's had longer walks and I've seen the family more often, that's been a positive side. But I'm aware that everyone's lockdown has been different. And that's how I've been able to use my lockdown.
Yeah. Well, thank you, John. That's and I think many of us can really relate to that sense of, as you say, it's a mixture of things and it's different for other people. But it's been good to hear your sense of gratitude comes through in everything you're saying, and that's a wonderful thing to hear. That in the midst of all the difficulties, you can find God's grace. And that is a reciprocal thing, isn't it? I think we often feel that we ought to do things and we have to serve in some way. And it's just lovely to hear that it's coming out of a place of deep gratitude and just response, really, isn't it? Rather than a have to. It's a
in a funny way, Stuart. It's like sorry to interrupt you. I just thought it's a bit like coming out
right.
because people feel they have to live and act a certain way, and in our professional situations, you're not there to drive your faith down everybody else's throat. Hopefully you do it through your actions, and people pick up on that. But I think one thing that has happened to me, in conclusion to what we've been talking about, is that I have been able to come out as a Christian. And because more and more things that I'm doing are to do with the church, to do with my faith, even EPs. People look at Spotify and they find my jazz albums and everything. But now there's a Christmas EP, and it's quite exhilarating to feel that you don't have to be forced into a situation and say, look, this is me, this is the real me. That there are other parts of me, but this is the real me you're seeing, and I'm not afraid to show it.
That's great. That's really good. Well, John, it'd be great to get in touch with you another time and hear how that's gone. Maybe when things have changed and sort of touch base again. I think we could have many conversations around music and church and the arts. It's wonderful to hear that sense of freedom coming out that you articulated so well. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and I know what we've shared today is going to be helpful to lots of people, and I hope we're all encouraged to wear our faith a little bit more boldly in these times, and you've certainly helped us to do that. So thank you, John, and we look forward to hearing more of your music and your thoughts as we go through this year together. Thanks.